Hello everyone and good evening and welcome to the final party end season for GPVWC 2014's Championship of the Superleague Variety. We are here at Interlagos, Brazil for what is quite frankly a samba fest of fun activity, party, drinking, booze, chuggy, Cam and myself, and quite frankly we're in the mood for a party, aren't we, Matt?
Yep, summertime. It's always a shame to reach the end of the year, but we're here in Brazil, in Interlagos, and well, we've got quite the send-off of the season. Some interesting qualifying results, lots of close racing to be had. We've seen some great racing this week, and a really nice way to send off the championship.
Great stuff. We're just into the warm-up itself, and we'll run through the grid of everything as it goes around on the formation map. We've had two crazy races already to round off the season. It does appear to be one of those things where everything kind of everyone flops off everywhere. And apologies if we're sounding a bit robotic. It may be a little bit of a server laggage going on. We'll get that sorted for you as soon as we can. But we've had two cracking races. Looks like we're set for a third as well, with a bit of a topsy-turvy grid.
Yes, indeed. We have, well, our new champion, David Fardock, and his CSG car again, Championship Constructor Winners CSG. He'll be starting right at the back of the grid this evening, and he won't have to make qualifying. So, will our new champion be able to put in a drive of champions? I wouldn't put it past him. He's got that amazing streak of being on the podium every single round so far this year. And it'd be a shame if he missed out right at the end there, so I'm sure he's going to put in a real effort there. And, well, of course, we've got Lucas Euler. He's put himself, well, up until this evening, we'll get to it in a minute. He's put himself in pole in every single race up until now, and, well, he's won every race as well, so keep an eye on him in that mighty quick Midnight Simcraft car. And, of course, there's a lot of pride on the line as well. A lot of the big prizes may have already been scooped up. You know, drivers will give their all to try and do everything they can to get the win.
Will do indeed. Hopefully we'll fix out some of our robotic natures very shortly. I see that someone is there in on the act. And just to run through some of the already won prizes, David Fardock is our championship winner for 2014, and we'll be interviewing him at the end of this broadcast. Lewis Redshaw is guaranteed second place regardless of whatever he does in that position. And actually, Nick Rowland is guaranteed third as well. So the top three are all sorted out. Ruud Heeterbeek is guaranteed fourth. And Gergo Boldi, so long as he grabs some points, is in a battle with Davidas Missilis over fifth position. Giuseppe Ranieri is not here this evening. He currently holds that. So there's some good stuff down there. With the constructors, CSG Potentia have already won that one. Midnight Motorsports are already guaranteed second, with Ejo already guaranteed third. But the big battle for fourth in the constructors, as opposed to seventh in the constructors for F1 last year, between Red Archer and Hawkeye. They're having a good old battle. Vodball and Nordzone are separated by 4 points for sixth and seventh. Torrent and Kernow are 10 between them in eighth and ninth, with Green Stripes a couple behind that. And then the battle for the final points-paying prize-winning positions, Woods, Target, ST and Phoenix all separated by just 5 points. And any good result here, and this one does throw up a few weird ones towards the end of the year, will come very welcome their way in one last ditch effort to try and get something on the board.
Absolutely. And the beauty of the last race of the season, I find, is if you do find yourself in the situation you have here where some of the titles have been decided, where we've got, our constructors, our top three constructors sorted, our drivers are all sorted, they can throw that kind of caution to the wind. You can all of a sudden just think about having the fastest and funnest race you can, and we've got our protagonists across the whole year, all up together, and we've got, of course, got David Fardock and a mighty quick CSG right at the back who will be trying to incise his way through the field. That combined with the fact Interlagos, it's one of my favourites. I think it's an amazing race course, so quick, so flowing, loads of overtaking opportunity. I think it really is going to show up a treat tonight.
I do love this track. There's something about it. It's in a bowl, a natural bowl. It's got camber, it's got gradient, it's got a real lovely flow to it. It's a joy to drive. I know it's not everyone's cup of tea. Some people were saying it in the FD race I was in on Monday. They was like, "Oh, what a rubbish track to end the season on." I could not disagree further.
Well, I was thinking, I was very pleased when I saw, of course, ITC finished off until August last week. I very much enjoyed that. I think it says a lot when you can go from these Formula cars, incredibly fast, incredible speed and downforce, and you can go and get in a touring car and have just as much fun. It's a great track, and, our grid will be forming in a moment to take us around on 71 wonderful laps of this amazing grid.
It'll be a relatively quick one as well. 71 laps of high-octane action. As always, one of the big questions, can you still get penalised in this final race? Yes, you can. Lots of
Attention grid, all non-essential personnel leave the grid now.
The pit lane and the entry and exit of that, which was just being clarified in a pre-race warm-up. Almost everyone going for the option tyres as well. There are two people who have gone differently to that. Gergo Boldy in 4th position in the Hawkeye, and David Fiduk, who's starting 24th out of the potential 26 starters here today. Also on the primes as well, so they're going for a different one. As we'll take you round the grid on the formation lap. It's Lewis Redshaw taking pole position for the final time this season for CSG Racing. Where does his future hold? Lucas Euler back on track. 3 starts this year, 3 wins. Can he make it 4 out of 4? And reaffirm himself as I would have been a contender if I was here all year stamp, which I think, to be fair, he's already had signed, sealed and delivered. His teammate Nick Rowland, 3rd on the grid, 3rd in the championship. Seems to be a running theme there for Nicky Boy. 4th for Gergo Boldy in the Hawkeye, ahead of his teammate Oskari Kantonen, who has taken over that 2nd Hawkeye seat with aplomb and thoroughly deserves a good look in for 2015. Two Nijos at 6th and 7th. Tom Van Voort ahead of Ruud Easterbeek. That's good to see for Tom, as he feels more on terms with his teammate this year compared to last season. Augustin Canapino 8th Nordstone. Good to see Nordstone picking back up again. Ahead of the 2 Red Archers of Pivotus Missilis. And Tommy Hagen, that's his best qualifying position of the year in 10th. Mikael Tumar is 11th in the Green Stripes Racing, ahead of Joel Tynan, and rounding out the top half of the grid in top for Woods. Again, a top for Woods for a very long time.
Indeed. We'll have starting P13 this evening, Kenny Livier in the list of the Vodballs. Then we'll have Philip Pushka for ST. Good to see the ST, actually well up there, 14th, good stuff. And then we'll have starting P15. In fact, actually, no, we won't, because he's in the pit lane. Morten Wernerson. I hope that's just not my thing here, glitching out. No, he's actually coming out of his garage right now, doing 3.2. There you are. Anyway, moving back to the track, we have Tommy Kovalainen in the green stripes car. He'll be starting P16. We can effectively add one to all these guys, or take them away, sorry, from all these guys. They'll gain an advantage there. Roy Schroten for Woods, he'll be starting P17. Kieran Ryan and Boyd Bryson, both the Phoenix cars, will be starting together in 18 19. Jordan Weeks for Target will be starting P20. Then we have Mark Fuller in the 2nd ST, who will be starting P21. Petter Kassa for Torrent will be starting P22, hoping to round out what's been a fairly unlucky season for the Torrent boys. We have Mingos Columbus for Target starting P23, and rounding out the grid, it's a CSG sandwich. It's David Fardock starting for CSG in P24.
That means that only one Torrent Motorsports is making the grid, and I can only see one Nordstone, so that's the 2 that are missing. So here come the lights then, 71 laps of action. We're going to be burning all the way home. Samba to the beats, Samba to the race times. We're off and away at Brazil for the final time this season. And Redshaw's done the same as he's done in Suzuka. He's really bogged down. He's kept it together though. But through goes a pile of cars. Vanderbilt up from 6th to 3rd. And look at the Midnights, 1-2, Vanderbilt, a fantastic start. Redshaw down to 4th, good recovery. Someone's up in the background, it's Canapino in the North Zone, dropping several places. Anderson rejoins at the back of the field as they go jockeying for position, and it's Euler ahead of Roland. Redshaw tries to go around the outside of Vanderbilt. Can he do it for 3rd? Yes, he can. Beautiful move there by Redshaw to regain that position. And it's Easterbeek, Boldy, Missilis, Kantonen, Sumala, and Pushka in 10th for ST. Someone faints now.
Goodness me, I'm amazed seeing so many cars charging down there into that very tight turn 1 and 2. The Senna S's one line through there, thankfully pretty much everyone getting through there, and well, Euler, he's put himself right where he wants to be to try and win this race, and he's now got a half-second gap to Redshaw as he's trying to make his way back through the field. I'll tell you, someone who's making his way through the field already, David Fardock, already up to P18. He's been incising his way through, and he'll be eyeing up Tommy Kovalainen here. Oh, and he's got a much better line there through turn 12 up the hill. critical to get a good exit here, and I think that move's pretty much done already. His next target will be Kieran Ryan, but a good clean start, all in all.
Redshirt takes second. Sorry to cut across. Redshirt takes second down the outside of turn one from Roland. Good move again. Roland not really fighting him, to be fair. Vandervoort and Heespeak looking racy in the Nijos. I wonder if they're going light fuel or something like that. There's battle for 11th between Libia and Pushka. Goes down into turn 3 side by side through the centre S, and Pushka keeps him behind. Kenny Libia stays in 11th. Football. ST knows that every point counts as Boyd Brighton takes Casa. Sorry, Casa takes Brighton for 20th position towards the back of the field, and Kieran Ryan's been done by David Fidek, and he's just going around the outside of Stroton for 15th, right the way through the midsection and round the outside there. There's not enough in the move that you'll see, so he's really putting in a fantastic drive in his opening laps.
Yeah, he is indeed. He's already up into the points after one lap from the back of the grid. You can't say much better than that. And clearly, obviously, there is a bit of a delta here in car performance between the CSG, the car which won, of course, the constructors and everyone else around them at the moment. But you still have to make your way through. Maybe the tools, we're going to make something with it. He's doing a good job so far. The interesting thing to keep an eye on here is as the race settles down, the field will spread. It's going to be interesting if he can carry on this pace and really make his way through the field. As we've got, oh my goodness, good little scrap going on here. Down towards the back end of the point scorers, we've got Canapino, Pushka, Libia, Tyne, all fighting over 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and well, Farduk's going to be alongside at the moment. Just keeping an eye here on Jarl Tyne at 13 for the minute, all over the back of the vodball of Libia here. He's trying on the outside through 5, not going to work that time round. You're going to have to be nice and careful here through 6 and 7. You run wide here, there's an anti-cut, and it will well and truly spit you out. Goodness me, Hagen, whoa, muscular there, but the beauty of this complex here in the second sector, you can come back and there's a touch. Oh, he's gone! Oh, he's into the wall.
Airside, nearly takes it to him. Oh, Ryan, no, Kieran Ryan. Snaps into that. What a shame. You know what? We could see that one coming, couldn't we?
We could. You can't go elbows out like that with these cars. There's just simply too much power, not enough weight. Oh dear, we're all going off in sympathy now as well.
Yeah. What was that? He was parked. Don't be scared of the stationary person. That's like my mum coming in and saying, I'm going to slap you like a boo-boo. What more? Oh dear. Tynan's out. I've revealed something about my child life. Kieran Ryan is limping back to the pits, but there's a wheel missing. Occasionally they will replace that wheel if the suspension is deemed to be alright, but I think he'll be a lucky one if that does happen. But that was all kicking off because the ST of Pushka was corking everyone up behind. He's still running in 11th, but currently the leading order then, Lucas Euler 1.8 clear from Redshaw. He's got Roland still all over him. They're dropping the Nijos of Vandervoort and Heesterbeek. Baldy on the primes is in 6th position, look out for that. Cantinen then 7, Missilis 8, Sumala 9, Canapino 10, Pushka 11 ahead of Libia. Fiduk now to 13th, behind Libia. Then it's Hagen and Schroten with Kovanen just sitting outside the points with Weeks, Casa, Bryson, Clumbers, Vernonson and Fuller. Your last one's in, and Kieran Ryan is not getting that wheel replaced, and that unfortunately is the end of his 2014 season, one that showed lots of promise but didn't push lots of results as Baldy and Heesterbeek go toe-to-toe for 5th.
It's a real shame there that we've had such a big accident early on, and unfortunately I think damage there done to that car just too much, so it's a shame to lose a couple cars there, but this is Interlagos.
Sorry, Roland was having a go at Redshaw for second, it didn't work out, but Baldy's about to go for Heesterbeek side by side through turn 4, as a complete sector 1, and he's done it beautifully down the inside. Now if you hold the line, which Heesterbeek did not, I've spent many a laps battling cars side by side where if you keep the inside line you kind of force the other car off. It's a bit naughty, but if you get angry elbows you can certainly do it if you get the momentum out. Heesterbeek did not, and Baldy has just taken that Nijo and he's on the slower tyre, so that's really interesting. And Libia is still defending from Fiduk over 12th, and they've caught Pushka back up again. So that little trio could be interesting, and it's so easy for Fiduk to lose a front wing or something like that as he forces his way through. So he's got to be so careful as he does so. And taking a look, Libia having nothing of it. Very experienced driver here is Keddy, and this is certainly showing. It's the first person to really put up a fight.
Yep, and it's going to be very telling to see how Fiduk can try and make a move here. Goodness me, he's really having a go here at Libia. He's got to go late on the brakes.
Oh!
This is the thing. The beautiful thing about Interlagos, as I was trying to say a second ago, is a lot of these corners can get 2 cars just through them, but you will find yourself running out of room on exit. And well, we saw that accident a moment ago, just because, lovely move on the brakes there from Viaduct down into 4, but no, it was a case of...
Pushka as well.
And he'll have Pushka here. Just look at the traction that CSG's got under top speed, and well, I think Pushka, quite wise there. I'm not going to fight you, I'm going to carry on.
Pick your battles, mate.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so. But yeah, Viaduct incising as well, continuing to, through the field. But yes, I find that's part of the joy of this track, because you know that limit is there. There has to be a degree of trust almost that you have to put in the people that you're racing. But then again, you know that because the track is almost so narrow in places, as I think we actually had a spin a moment ago, just down into 12. I'm just trying to see if that's anyone in particular, but everyone seems to be moving at a good pace. But no, if you make a mistake, you will be offline, and you will be very vulnerable, in particular along this 3rd sector, which effectively is just the exit from 12 and a run all the way up the hill. You get a good exit, a good chunk of momentum carried through, and you will be taking positions left, right, and centre. So, yeah, unfortunate for the guys early on. That didn't quite work out going down into 10, but Viadoc's shown it is possible. He's up to 11 on that prime tyre. So, good progress. He's 16 seconds off the lead.
17th and 18th, Casa versus Weeks and Bryson in 19th, Gavin Wright, good scrap. Casa went down the outside of Weeks the previous lap through the Centre S, a real brave move. Weeks then fancied to try and repeat that on him. It's not worked out for him, and now Bryson sticking himself up the inside. He is the South African with all the muscle, and he's well known for being a bit argy-bargy, but Jordan's just given him plenty back, actually tapped wheels as he cut across, and I think that may allow Bryson to have a go back through as he's in that Target sandwich. Not for points at the moment, but Target are desperate for some points to try and give them some better R&D performance for entering 2015. They effectively cut their tyres on this car very early on in the season, as did Torrent and a couple of others, and with a complete eye on 2015, but it's these kind of races where you think, right, I need the points so that I can have a good start for the further year, as Viaduct takes Tumala for 10th down at the Centre S. So important times for several of these teams, and they're not teams that we normally feature.
Yes, indeed. And of course, people are thinking of next year already. They've got to be thinking, okay, we need to get our finances in order, we've got to get our development done right to give ourselves the best chance next year. And it always is very telling to see which teams have been forward-thinking and trying to plan ahead. But as things currently are, we've got a few teams who've decided to call it a day this year, focus on next year's efforts. And, well, we've only had the constructors wrapped up a few rounds ago, so they may be able to steal the march in the early phase. But I'll tell you who's stealing the march right at the moment. It's 5th place Mangurgo Baldy. He's really seemed to have found a real purple patch here with these prime tyres. He's the fastest man last time around, who isn't either Lewis Redshaw or Lucas Euler. So, and here he comes down the start finish. Can he get the move done here on Van der Voort? I think he can. He's ahead into the braking zone. Can he get the job done? No, Van der Voort. Oh, lovely defence. Nice and late on the brakes. Nice and fair. Space was given. So they run through 2 there to complete the Centre S through the Curva de Sol. Onto the back straight here as we now run down towards turn 4. Is he close enough for a move late on the brakes? No, I don't think so. Van der Voort a little out of position. Can Baldy get a better exit? Yes, I think he can, as he now runs down through 5. Little straight here. Can he put himself alongside? Yes, he can. Going the long way, though. Round turn 6 and 7 is not an easy thing to do. And they're now all tucked in, I think, just about. Ooh, a little lock up there from Baldy, just trying to get that car stopped. It's very much single file traffic through 8, 9 and 10.
It is, but you can be cheeky and stick a lunge up the inside, but you've got to be aware that the other guy will move out of the way knowing that you're coming, which isn't always the best plan, as I found out in FC, much to my chagrin, and I think a few other people did as well. Couldn't mention towards the back again, with the Weeks of Bryson and Columbus that was scrapped. They've swapped positions for about 4 corners in a row, so that's great to see, even if it isn't for the points. Canapino is defending off Viaduct still for 9th and 10th, as Baldy has another go at Van der Voort for 4 and 5.
I think Viaduct has just taken P9 and he's just driven by him.
Crowded Canapino out a smidgy bit there. And Nord Zone. Don't want to crowd out a Nord Zone. That's Will Panise's team. Don't annoy the bosses. Baldy round the outside of Van der Voort for 4 and 5. That was a little bit late on the brakes, and he got nearly squared up on the exit. He's got the inside for this corner. Now you can be cheeky and just run Van der Vaart out wide onto the curb slightly. He's given him plenty of room, actually. And you can kind of then do that little toe out. But Van der Vaart, oh dear, nearly spearheading off. These cars are very tail happy or oversteery when you floor the accelerator, which is what Tom has done. And it's great to see Tom back up there battling for top 5 finishes after a little bit of a dark period in the wilderness, and showing his form. And Boldy too, who has really risen, I think, now that we've had the whole Harley gate. We're seeing the true Boldy in form of a team leader that understands that he's a team leader and is showing the way, and we're seeing more deformation from him.
Yeah, absolutely, and well, he's been doing a great job, obviously, since Harley left the team, and that Hawkeye car, we've seen it all year long. It's been a very capable car. Unfortunately, in the early going, they didn't quite get the results that they needed, but really been able to pull it together here for the end of the season. Well, Gergo's driving really very, very nicely here at the moment on that prime tyre. He's currently our top prime runner, one of two, and he's been consistently quick. I'm just keeping an eye on the lap times last time around, and sure enough, even though he was scrapping, he was only just slower than the cars ahead of him. But now he's got some clean air. He'll be able to, I'm sure, start to put some quick lap times in. And of course, depending on tyre wear and the other factors, we might get some weather or something. You never know. Do like a bit of weather. Interlagos always spices things up. He could find himself being sat very pretty as the strategy plays out. So yes, a very, very, very strong finish to the season here for Boldy and Hawkeye, which is what we like to see.
Bryson and Weeks don't take each other off in the next few laps, I'll be absolutely stunned. I've been watching them clatter each other down at turn 1. Those cars must be slightly damaged, and Columbus must be sitting there waiting for the pieces to all fall. As Kenny Lybeer lines up Philip Pushka for 12th and 13th. Philip Pushka, a name that we don't much know of, but he's certainly making a name for himself in that ST, and we've seen this often at the STs. When they bring in drivers who aren't their normal regular ones, the car seems to go flying up the order a little bit, which is a bit of a shame for Calvin Hermsey and Mark Fuller, because they're regular drivers, they're very competent in what they do, but they aren't the quickest, and Philip Pushka is really elevating ST up to a potential point scoring team here today, and Lybeer is through in that Vodball, and Vodball need those points in their battle for 6th and 7th in the Constructors. And Tommy Hagen, who dropped back after what was a top 10 qualifying performance in 14th, will now look at Philip Pushka. Shout out for his teammate Davidus Missilis. He is defending from David Fiduk, but he's caught Oskari Kantonen for 7, 8 and 9, and that looks like it's going to be the next firecracker to go off.
It's getting into that phase of the race where people are starting to settle down. We're on lap 12 of 71 here. People have got to start out of the way. They're now thinking, okay, we're now driving to our first set of pit stops, and they know their plan. They know what they have to do. They know what lap times they need to do consistently, or whatever else, to make their strategies work. And it's going to be interesting to see who is going to try and do that racier strategy, perhaps put in an extra pit stop potentially, to try and get some good rubber for the end of the race. But as we've seen, as we've just seen Fodok, a lovely move there in 4 by Fodok to get through by Missilis. But if you're on that racier strategy, you've just got to do everything you can to get by, because if you get held up behind someone, you have to go and compromise your strategy, which is really something you don't want to do. But one thing I actually wanted to mention, which is kind of different about Interlagos to the other tracks we've raced on this year, is its kind of stop-start nature through this second sector. And I think we're seeing a lot of drivers having potentially a little more drama getting the car around, because you're in one of these incredibly powerful Formula cars, all about the aerodynamic downforce, and all of a sudden you're going around corners where you can't generate the downforce you're perhaps more used to. And we've seen a few times drivers just getting a little airy on throttle, getting a little bit sideways, which is all good to watch, as I think Bardoc's just about to squeeze up Canton here for 7. Just gets into that slipstream really nicely, nice and controlled on the brakes, no lockups, nicely done into 1, so that's a move signed, sealed and delivered. Bardock continuing to move his way through the field, but anyway, yes, it's certainly a very different challenge for the drivers, and of course, want to keep everyone on their toes, even though it may be the last race of the season.
Definitely, and we saw in qualifying Lucas Oil bin it, so there's hope for everyone else on the field yet, as Canapino and Missilis go toe-to-toe for 9 and 10. Canapino trying to go down the inside of Missilis at turn 4. Missilis keeps that racing line, and that's my preferred defending route, so well done, Davidas. Will it hold off for him? Yes, it will. He's gone a bit deep into Megulo, but he's managed to keep it vaguely together as they go around these last couple of corners. A big lock up from the Hawkeye ahead, and Canapino goes steaming through, and that's argy-bargy in the way that Augustin usually goes for, but it's effective. And then Ordzone goes up into 9th position as Lewis Redshaw's into the pits, and he's our first person in.
Cantonen ahead of Canapino. He's in P8. He had a moment there coming out of 12, ran well wide. I think Canapino's going to get 2 for 1 on this lap. As Cantonen, he went across the pit lane there. I think he might get in trouble if he keeps doing that. As we're just hearing from cameraman extraordinaire, Cameron Brewster, that Redshaw's gone on to primes. Ooh. This is going to be interesting. These two are scrapping. Where's Redshaw going to come out? I think
coming
he's
out alongside.
Behind. Yes, alongside. Yes, as he's got the inside here for this turn.
Oh!
Canapino saying, "Oh no, you don't. I'm not letting you by here." But I think that's actually going to cost him. Cantonen trying around the outside. Ooh. A little bit cheeky. Redshaw benefits there because he's got a lovely load of track to drive into, but just about on the limits of fair, I'd say there. Cantonen's racing Redshaw nice and fairly though. Space given. Good stuff.
Well, it's fair to say that my sphincter has reaction times like a squirrel, and Redshaw, they're squealing around on his rear wheels, and the same for Cantonen, and that could cost him as Missilus has half a look. And Cantonen gave him the room actually, a bit strangely, but they're kind of sorting themselves out now. So primes then for Redshaw. He's clearly seen that Boldy is able to keep up good pace as well as in two, and Roland. I hope that didn't have a box problem there.
No,
we'll find out. But Euler's going to come out behind Boldy, and will Vandervoort get through as well? They're going to be side by side now. Euler's just, I think, going to do it if he gets the right acceleration. Yes, he does. He just pops out in second. Vandervoort will be down in third. He may fancy a cheeky look down into four, but he's not going to. Then it's Heasterbeek, Fiduk, then Canapino and Redshaw, and this is the thing that Redshaw did not want, as Roland rejoins on the back of this little gaggle, because all this does is pull him further away from Euler, but also closer to his teammate, David Fiduk, who is only 5 seconds up the road, yet to stop obviously, but he's doing that long old stint, which Redshaw will now be pushing into. So that'll be interesting, as Missilus has got it all wrong, and there's, Missilus and Cantonen have come together. Oh dear, that was down at the entrance. Missilus taps the back of Cantonen, Cantonen spins, and Missilus, I think, he's waited and then let Cantonen back through again, as someone else is off in the background too. I think that was someone trying to get out of the way. It was Jordan Weeks as Vandervoort pits. So good, gentlemanly-like driving there by Davidus Missilus, who tapped poor Cantonen round. But that's cost the pair of them time compared to where they are against everyone else.
Yep. I was going to say, it's interesting to see that Lewis obviously pitting first out of our leading group. We know that Lewis has perhaps been a little harder on the tyres this year than the people he has been racing, but I think what we now need to keep an eye on is Gergo Boldy. I think he's going to be the yardstick. He's been doing consistent 1 minute 8s, mid 1 minute 8, for the last 10 or so laps. He's once he's got himself some clean air, he's really been able to do a very consistent and quick pace. And we'll have to see if, first of all, Euler can eat into that gap. He's got 3.5 seconds to make up, and how far can Gergo go here and make these prime tyres last. So Simon, how did you find the wear in Formula Challenge? It's normally a pretty good indicator for what the tyres are going to be like for the rest of the week. Were you encountering any tyre wear problems at all as you were running around this great 4.3 kilometre track? Well, I've just heard that Simon is not with us at the moment, so I have to ask him that again in a moment. Thank you very much, cameraman extraordinaire, for being on the ball. Anyway, we'll have to ask Simon that in a moment, but interestingly, if we keep an eye on P3, we have David Fiduk. He's now zeroing in on the back of Ruud Heasterbeek, so we're going to have a scrap here down into 4. Fiduk, goodness me, there's so much more traction on that CSG. Ooh, squeezy into the braking zone, but just about clean. Fiduk up to P3. And he now has, about 3 or so seconds of clear air to run into. And let's see what kind of pace he can do now compared to Boldy, as these guys are on the same strategy at this point. So this is going to be interesting to see. Can Fiduk really somehow bridge the gap and pull himself onto podium contention, which I'm sure is what his target is this evening. Meanwhile, we saw both Midnight cars pit in. We've got Roland, he's come out down in 7th place, and we know that Euler is in 2nd. And look at that, the gap has increased this time around. up by 6/10. So clearly Boldy really hitting his stride on these prime tyres. Now he's got clear air. Can Euler pull him in? We'll have to wait and see. Anyway, now that the wonderful Mr. Simon Smith has returned, I have a question for you, good sir. How did you find tyre wear in Formula Challenge? It's normally a pretty good indicator for what the wear will be like this evening. Do you think potentially you might be able to get away with a one-stop strategy? No.
No. As Canapino comes in from 8th, I found I wasn't struggling tyre wear wise, but I only had at the end of my stint 2 red bits left on my front left, which was the limiter for here. So I can see that being an issue as Canapino comes out right alongside Libeer for 10 and 11. I think that could be an interesting turn 4 as Canapino tries to defend. Libeer's going to go around the outside, near touch wheels between the two. And Libeer gives him the room, but Canapino's going to try and go no and get back through. Libeer gets Larry on the curb, but he'll have the inside for this, and Canapino may have to wait a corner or two for him to get up running in those primes and get the tyres up to temperature. But Libeer gets it all wrong. Canapino steams through and, well, gives no room at all and says, I'm crowding you out. Isn't that old 80s band, Crowded House? I think he knows exactly what that is, as Boyd Bryson has crashed out from the race in the Phoenix from what was about 20th, and he's lost his front left tyre entirely. Pitted, hoping that the Phoenix car will repair, but clearly Phoenixes don't repair wheels, as his teammate found out. So that was the end of that, as Vernonson attacks both targets for 17, 18 and 19.
Yeah, I was just keeping an eye on actually this Vernonson, Weeks and, well, Columbus fight, and by the looks of it, I think Weeks had a moment there going through turn 9, and, well, Vernonson's been able to gain a place there. So sometimes, just putting your car behind another, just showing yourself in the mirrors, you can force a mistake. Just make that driver ahead of you, look in his mirrors, misses a braking spot, whatever it may be.
High-speed flashing.
Yeah, there you are. And with a quick pull of the car positioning in the mirror, you can find yourself slipping up the inside. Anyway, Columbus now pits, so he's out of the equation. So Wernerson, he's gained 2 this time round. He's got himself up to 17. So we'll have to see what Columbus swaps onto in terms of tyres. He's got a fair old way on the prime tyre there from the start, and we'll see what he swaps to. He's staying with that option tyre, so a double option stint for the target man.
Bad at all, and that may pull him out, because that could well leapfrog him Weeks and Vernonson, who Vernonson's now got through on Weeks anyway. But he's seemed to be slightly faster than Jordan, but it seemed Jordan was always in a battle, so it didn't seem like a right thing to come and steam in. So that could be an undercut trying to work for him. Just a disclaimer: we don't want any flashes to stick out the inside of anything. As who was that changing positions? That was Roy Schroten getting it slightly. Oh no, sorry, it's Tommy Hagen in the pits for Red Archer and Kenny Libeer too. So plenty of people in, and almost a crash into the pit lane there between Fuller and Schroten. Fuller dawdling in, trying to think of a polite term, but it was a bit of a dawdle. And Schroten was coming in full speed trying to lap the guy, and a near collision there. Because that pit entry, it's a bit difficult.
It is. Yeah, it is. It's a lot more narrow than you think when you're approaching it. So you really have to pull the car left, then immediately right, and then you have to just think about getting the car stopped for this pit speed limit line. Not an easy one to sort out. We just heard that a car had spun somewhere, but we didn't quite catch where. Jordan Weeks having a moment, which is a shame.
It's lost him out though, because Columbus is already through and past, and he's only just pulling into the pit lane. So that has really sorted out the target battle.
There you are. Sometimes these things do just sort themselves out. You just have to drive your own race and we'll sort itself out. Anyway, speaking of things sorting out, I've been keeping an eye on lap times in particular, because Interlagos, just the nature of the track it is, it's constant acceleration, braking, everything else, and it's normally a good indicator to see which drivers are doing consistent times, because that's normally a good indicator of if they're having a good race or not. We've seen Boldy, he's been doing very consistent mid 1 minute 8. So has David Fardock, and actually he's currently going quicker on this prime tyre he's had on since the start of the race than Lucas Euler, and he's reeling Euler in. And likewise, Boldy is just pulling away from Euler. So clearly, Fardock in his CSG and Boldy in his Hawkeye have clearly got something sussed here on this prime tyre and making it really, really work. So you would have thought, with sticking a stickier tyre on, they're going to go even quicker. Of course, weirder things have been known to happen for the inverse to happen, but Firedock clearly, Firedock and Bold, it should be said, clearly liking this prime tyre and making it work for them. So this is going to really help them out as the race sorts itself out towards the end of the race here. So we'll have to keep an eye on it, and I think we're going to have a scrap before too long between Firedock and Euler.
Well, Firedock's quickest lap last time round, on lap 21, is his fastest overall, a 1:08.320. Boldy, similarly, has just done his fastest lap of the race, a 1:08.432. So they're clearly not dropping off, and it'll be interesting with a beady 1/8 of an eye to sit there and think, when will that drop off, as Liberia has taken Pushka for 12th and 13th during this lap. I think that was coming out of the final turn. It looked like Pushka had ran off wide because he was ahead coming into that sector and out behind coming out, as Canapino takes Heasterbeek for 7th and 8th as well. So still kicking off as Boldy's in.
Yes, indeed. We'll have to see what he swaps onto. He swapped to an option. So there you are. He's had enough of that prime tyre. He thinks he's taken it as far as it can go. Euler will inherit the lead, but he's only got a 1.4 gap to Firedock. So it'll be interesting to see. Can Firedock go further on these prime tyres? We'll have to wait and see. Baldy's been able to get 23 laps out of him, which is a decent old stint. I believe that Redshaw and Euler and Roland, they were able to get about 16 or so out of the option. So we'll definitely be seeing another few more rounds of stops. I think it's safe to say for everyone. So I think the real interesting point is it going to be double option or double prime for a remaining prime runner, which is Firedock?
So, lap 24 we are currently on, about to complete and go into lap 25, which is just past through 1/3 distance. It's Lucas Euler leading by 1.3 seconds from David Firedock. Interesting to have said that. As Firedock pops in, it's now going to ruin my rundown. I think I'll wait. Easier to do, as Cantonen has taken Missilis for 9th and 10th down at turn 4 off your screens. Firedock into the pits. What's he going to go for? Switches from the prime, a bit of a tardy entrance in, and he is going for another set of primes. He's doing the double.
He is indeed, and I did wonder, I mean, if you can make the slower tyre work for you, and make it as either as quick as or quicker than it would be normally, then why not use that as much as you can? And it might be a factor of they've set the car up here to work on this prime tyre. They knew that he would be at a disadvantage having to start at the back of the grid because he would miss qualifying. And yeah, well, you're going to have to play to your strengths. So he's come out of the pit lane. He's got himself a fairly decent bit of clear air. In fact, a very decent bit of clear air. The car ahead of him, he'll be racing for position. So
they're racing themselves for position, Roland and Boldy. They're going right at it.
Absolutely hammer and tongs. And this is actually going to help Firedock here. Because effectively, if he can catch up here while we've got Koivunen and Roland and Boldy, they're all fighting amongst each other. And we've got Kassa and a few others up ahead, as Boldy's got a very nice exit. We've got opposite tyre compounds in play here now. So Boldy, in theory, should have a bit of an advantage over this midnight. And by the looks of it,
what was that for Roland? That was a bizarre kick. Did you see that?
It was, yeah.
He took some grass with him.
Yeah, I can only see that there's been a lag or something. It was a very, very odd line, not normal whatsoever.
He's going to have him.
Well, I think he's a little far back.
Sorry, I was busy watching what was going on ahead with Kassa and co.
Yes, well, no, I was...
That camera forlongs the shot, doesn't it? So it suddenly looks a bit closer than what it is. Boldy coming out from turn 3, though. That lovely turn, you can keep right up on the slipstream. Kassa gets well out of the way. I don't think Boldy's going to dare have a go, but Fuller about to go 2 laps down. He's been involved, I remember Austria being the most notable one, where he was involved in problems before, but he's well out of the way this time round. Should be used to blue flag action, and that continues on to fight another day. Sorry to dive on you there, as Missilis retakes Cantonen for 9th and 10th.
No, not at all. But yeah, anyway, so Firedock will have that traffic to move his way through. But if these two continue to scrap, Firedock's going to gain. Oh, Baldy! Oh dear, yeah. There's making your car go for the gap, and then there's a gap which is never going to be. Thankfully, everyone not collecting each other there. But
that gap was anorexic.
It was, and it was getting even more anorexic at a rapid rate. But anyway, yeah, you can shut the car up the inside, but you do have to be very reliant on your rival being aware of that and giving you the space. But the nature of that second sector in particular, you'll have a left-hander, then you'll immediately have a right-hander. So you really, if you're going to get the move done, you need to get ahead of them and box them out before the next corner begins. Otherwise, you're just going to be losing that place again.
Definitely, we'll do that without ruining your line as well, which is half of the trick. So Lucas Euler then leads the way from Lewis Redshaw, Midnight Motorsport from CSG. Nick Rowland currently clinging on to third with Gergo Boldi behind him in fourth. David Fidek can nearly actually see him because they was on the same straight there for a split second in fifth position, so he's reeling them in. Tom Vandervoort in sixth place for Nijo, 7th Augustin Canapino, 8 is Ruud Heesterbeek for Nijo, 9 Oscari Canton for Hawkeye, 10 David Spicelis Red Archer, 11 Green Stripes Mikhail Tsumala, Kenny Lybeer 12th for Vodball, ahead of Philip Pushka, still in the points for SG on his...
Oh! Sorry. The fight between Boldi and Roland has continued. There's been some lap traffic having its own moment through turn 10, and Boldi was able to get all the way around the outside at 12, but Roland's come back at him.
Wow, and it looks like he's going to go for a double toe. I tell you what, he's got all of the big toes going on down into turn 1 if he can manage it. Roland closes off the line. It's so easy to just go, I'm steaming through at that corner and miss the apex entirely. I've done it myself. It's one of those corners that just invites you in because you already have that confidence where you're braking at the 50-metre board, which is a bit unusual for such a corner like that anyway. So you're like, enough couple. And it's cambered for you to have a go, but there's that tipping point where all of a sudden you're like, oh, hello, grass. And it's a dodgy one. You can't really make time with that. So Roland continues with that one for now. We'll watch that as I just run through the rest of the field. So Hagen's in 14th ahead of Roy Schroten, 15th, last point scorer. Then it's Covenant, Casa, Columbus, Vernonson, Weeks, and Fuller is 2 laps down. Your retirement's Bryson, Ryan, and Tyne. As Boldi not quite looking like he's set up to have a go this time round out of Juncal, but up the hill he'll go, and plenty of time for a bit of slipstream. But this is where I remember you saying, Matt, you was looking in qualifying, Lucas Euler had a very low top end speed. He was maxing out and wasn't able to suck up people on the old top gear through slipstream. I wonder how Boldi and Roland are set up, and if Roland's gone for a similar setup to what Euler has.
I was about to say just as much. It seems that both these cars are perfectly matched, but in opposite regards. Roland clearly has got the superior car through the second sector, but Boldi, I don't know if he must be running swing or something else, but he can always exit this turn 4 and 5 complex here, get much closer. But then as we go through 6 and 7 and through 8, 9, 10, and well to the end of the sector, Roland's just able to do enough to keep Boldi out the way, and really, for me, Boldi's just been putting in these like half moves. I think really he needs to focus, I'd say, on just watching Roland just for a few laps, figure out where he has the advantage, and once he figures that out and figures out where his best opportunity will be, set himself up across the whole lap to try and be as close as possible to force that move. At the moment, they're just sort of following each other, trying to keep an eye on one another, and really, they're just costing themselves time to Firedock, who all the time is catching up on this pairing. The gap, I believe, is around 4 and a bit seconds. So the gap is decreasing. These two continue to scrap. They're going to cost themselves positions.
Always the way. You enjoy the battle, but you don't enjoy the time loss, and it's about balancing the two and knowing exactly when to pick your battles, I think, as well. So they will continue their battle on. They've dropped well off the back of the Euler Redshaw duo, and there's 8 seconds between them, so they're not exactly high-flying stickies in a battle contest. The other big battles going on, Tom Vandervoort's being closed in by Augustin Canapino. The gap between them is just a second, and that will be hotted up soon. Missilis has disposed of Tumalis, that's the end of that. Lybeer's disposed of Pushka, so that's the end of that, but Tommy Haggard is still quite close behind Pushka for 13 and 14, so keep an eye on that in the background of our minds. Casa is closing in on Covenant for 16 and 17, and Bernardson is about to recapture Columbus after their pit stops. Columbus really did win out in that pit stop strategy that he done, where he pitted all on his own essentially, and is about to have a take 2 of having to defend that position. Everyone else relatively running in their own regards, and whilst we watch probably the best battle out here at the moment, the Boldi versus Roland one, how would you rate Nick Rowland's season? 3rd overall in the championship, very consistent throughout, but when you look in regards to his dual teammates of Giuseppe Ranieri, Alex Cooper, and now you've got Lucas Euler, is he justified with that 3rd position?
You want to know something? I think if it wasn't for Firedock and his amazing consistency across the season, I think Roland would have had more of a factor in the championship all in all. of course, having teammates the like of Euler or Giuseppe or very, very quick guys, it's always going to be very, very hard to kind of make yourself appear there. But consistency really is the key. If I had a Super League team and I saw how well Roland has been driving, I would know I'd have a driver who would time in, time out, be able to take the car, get the most from it, and guarantee a point score. And fundamentally, points mean prizes. It means money. At the end of the day, here for use on developing your car and developing a car for next year at this point, and that can have its own huge merits, indeed. So, I think
he's
had
had 6 fourths.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. If it wasn't for Vidoc and his constant podiums, we'd be going, wow, 6 fourths. That's pretty impressive. But yeah, it's just one of those things. Consistency will win you championships. It will get you very, very good results across the year. I mean, 3rd place, do not knock that whatsoever. It's a very, very good result.
It's an undisputed solid one as well. So
it is.
It's Canapino and Vandervoort go side to side for 6th and 7th. Vandervoort there. Come across him actually down the straight, and normally I'm accusing Canapino of being the aggressive one, but that was Vandervoort being quite aggressive back, and they nearly collected each other on the braking phase. Canapino gets through, takes 6th position, Vandervoort down to 7, still 4 seconds ahead of teammate Easter Beek, and in fact I think there should be a theme as we go into the second half whilst the battles are sorting themselves out. As who was that changing positions? It was Canton and Reed taking Missilis for 9th and 10th. They're lapping Columbus at the time. That's why it was a bit busy. I think we should take stock of some of the drivers throughout the seasons and kind of evaluate them. I don't want like A stars and smiley faces, but because quite often we're sitting reacting to the actual on-track action as it goes, and this has been a fab race so far. I think it's not very often we get the chance to kind of review things as a whole throughout the season. So have you had any particular standout people that have either improved or have caught your eye, or you've thought, if you'd have had a bit more luck, we'd have known a bit more about you?
Yeah, well, so as I said earlier, I mean, in particularly the second half of the season, and if it wasn't for the unfortunate poor run of form in the early going, I think Gogo Baldi has certainly done himself a huge service. He's been very impressive across the championship. Another person, even though he won't have the opportunity this year to win the championship, Lewis Redshaw's done a really amazing job as well. Really very amazing job this season as well. It was only because of an incredibly uncharacteristic mistake that essentially he handed over the championship to Vidoc last time out in Suzuka, when he somehow spun the car. And I still can't quite understand how on earth he could spin the car off the line as he did, But no, I think he did very, very well as well. I think on the whole, I'd say my surprise of the year would be Nordchen. I thought they would be able to do a little bit better, but that's the way that things go. Sometimes you just don't get that run of luck. And as actually Canapino is pitting in here, and I think he's getting another set of option tyres there. I just don't think they've had the opportunity to really show off their form. But no, Nijo as well, as a team, I think they've had a good season. And just really thinking forward to next year, of course, we'll have our official announcement of all drivers, well, not necessarily drivers, but certainly the teams which will be in next year's championship. I'm sure plenty of these will be there, as well as potentially some new guys to spice things up as well. And I'm sure they'll be giving it their all for next year. And of course, let's not forget the guys in Super Cup. Been some very impressive drives from drivers around that field as well, and they will be looking forward to moving up a step. So it's going to be an interesting off-season, and it's going to be interesting to see who's going to be making the grade the jump up.
Well, one team that will be making the jump up is... I've completely forgot. The Constructors winners from Super Cup go automatically up. Adonis Engineering, so they will be a team that will be on the grid next year as Vandervoort laps Covenant. I thought that was a move going on there. It's not. So that's one team definitely in to replace outgoing teams that are going on. Columbus and Vernonton, 18th and 19th, maybe scrapping for potentially the last couple of points, but that VOD ball passes the target, and this is important because, thank you to James Kirk for this actually, currently as standings are as they are, were 5 minutes ago, so the Nord Zone's just pitted, but Nord Zone currently to overtake VOD ball, so that needs Vernonton into the points. ST to overtake Target, where Pushka is in the points, Hawkeye to overtake Red Archer because Hagen has slipped down the field as opposed to Missilus going up it. So interesting stuff, and that will constantly to and fro. It feels like a Caterham Marisha thing going on at the back. But Tumala pits and rejoins in 13th and keeps ahead of Pushka just about. So that will still keep ST ahead of target for the time being.
Yes, indeed. And in fact, another man in the pits who's just left is Lucas Euler. He pitted in from first, he's rejoined in second, and he's got another set of prime tyres to take him on his way. So that was about 20 or so laps he was able to get out of that set, so we'll probably see him about another 20 or so laps time, and well, you'll have the choice then, another set of options or prime. So I think his strategy's fairly firmly set there. We'll have to see what everyone else does around him. Redshaw, I think, will be the next man to watch. He pitted in first of everyone, so it's interesting to see that he's still running around. Though, as I've just said that, he is pitting in now. We'll have to see what he swaps onto for his second stop as we go on to lap 37 to 71. We're halfway complete this evening.
Fabulous stuff, as always. Amazing racing here that is going on. That looks like prime's going on for Lewis Redshaw. Indeed it is. Through goes Baldy. Through goes someone very larily into turn 1. That was all the wheels locked up, and Redshaw's going to rejoin roughly behind them, but he's ahead just about of Fidek. So that keeps them two separated on track. No love between those these days. Unfortunately, it'll be interesting to see how the dynamics of teams work for 2015 and where people end up, because we've had some rivalries and some stakes put in the sand this year between several drivers up and down the field, and through collisions or through just not gelling and so on and so forth. So it'll be interesting to see how much of a dynamic that really plays. I always found for me that you need a good harmony in a team for people to work together to push forward, and as soon as something like that starts to break, then it starts to unravel. And CSG, obviously a new team that's entered this season, admittedly with people that are well versed in the art of GPVWC, but it's a cementing year, and very similar to how you have peaks and troughs in the real things. And we had Norzone have a spell, we had Midnight have a spell as Baldy, Roland in the pit, sorry. He's onto the primes. Nijo had a spell as well. People go through those peaks and troughs, and I wonder how long CSG can keep a peak for, and how continuity will play a part in their future season.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
it's going to be interesting to see, I think, how they approach next year, because joining as a new team, there aren't really any expectations of you. Obviously, you're expected
very
to turn
brawn.
up. Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. You know, you turn up with your car and your drivers, and you go, right, okay, let's go motor racing. But all of a sudden, because you've got that title and you've got a championship-winning driver, Bardock continues with CSG. You know, in your paddock, in your stable, there is an expectation placed, and that can bring its own weird kind of pressure with it, which can, well, either make or break you. I think always the interesting thing to think of here is, you know, you might think that harmony is, well, you must have harmony for things to go well, but there has been instances in the past where actually disharmony, a little bit of rivalry can help. In particular, Nicky Lauda, James Hunt, when they were fighting in the 70s, always was attributed to the fact that they were pushing each other so hard that they were just pushing themselves further and further and further, and hence the great fights that they were having. So you never know, actually. It's a funny old world in motorsport. You never know who will be moving around in the musical chairs, which is the driver market, and obviously the budget and things and what that will allow. But it's going to be interesting to see if people can maintain their run of good form from this year to next, or if that doesn't happen, likewise.
Definitely. So if you've got standout drivers or teams or any tips or insights that you feel that you might want to share with us whilst we're live on air at the moment, hashtag GPVWC on Twitter. We're more than happy to listen and watch and read, and maybe even read out a couple, as Missilus pits from what was 8th position already down to 9th. He's going to rejoin on option tyres for Red Archer as they battle for their future in the top lot of constructors, the top flight. And Red Archer, they've been a midfield team for a while, and they've been slowly but surely. They had a very solid lineup for a couple of years of David Yunt and and blank. It's now completely gone out of my head. But they spent a good few seasons together, and both of them have then gone to lower formulae. And Red Archer kind of reinvented themselves this year, and with Missilis in particular behind the wheel, they've really made some good strides. And when you're going through a transitional period, it's difficult to set goals as a team because you don't necessarily know where you fit in the pecking order. Do you base yourself compared to where you were before? Is midfield still good enough when you're then looking for a transition to make higher? And how long do you give yourself before you then make that push?
Absolutely. I mean, the goalposts are always moving. So certainly I remember saying to myself before ITC started this year, okay, you had a good season last time out. I expect this, and I'd like to be top 20 by the end of it all. But then we picked a car. We thought it would be the right car, and it didn't quite work out. We had to put in a lot of work to work around various problems that we had. Actually, even though I didn't have perhaps personally as good a season as I would like, I actually was able to take a lot away. So, it can be interesting almost in that regard as Baldy pits now to swap off his option set of tyres. It can be interesting how your perceptions change across a year, how your goals can go out the window, and well, certainly I personally thought I really enjoyed my ITC running this year, which is always good. But actually, I thought, well, yeah, I set my goals, I didn't meet them, but you want to know something? I did a lot of good stuff otherwise, so that's always a good thing as well.
Definitely. Re-estimation and prioritisation is key as Van der Voort pits from what was 6th through goes Ruud Heesterbeek. Will those two be paired up together in the future at Nijo? Who knows with that one? Again, get to hear little tidbits as commentators, and we shan't mention any names, but there's rumours afoot there could be change at the old Nijo camp. I'd like to see some changes in some liveries as well. Nijo have always been lovely and green. Obviously green stripes need to have some green to them, although that would be the ultimate irony if they turned up an entirely blue car. As Cantonen's off down at SNRS.
I was just about to say, that's certainly not somewhere where you want to find yourself. Thankfully plenty of runoff there, but
got to make sure the lap counts. I don't think there's a weird timing thing there.
Yeah, no, but as you were saying, it's very unusual. Pretty much all the cars actually, as they've run round here this year, you will be braking around that 50-meter mark, and just because it is so banked and you're at such speed, and you can very easily miss your braking point. And that first corner, and followed so quickly by turns 2 and 3, you can really lose yourself a lot of time, and potentially a bit worse if you really stray off the beaten path. So good to see Oscar has been able to get back on track, and hopefully he'll be able to recover from that.
Definitely, as Fuller goes 2 laps down. A quick word. Obviously, Philip Pushka, we don't know him much in Super League. He is the Super Cup champion this season, making his step up early to Super League, obviously putting himself out there to say hello. Not made him a bad account of himself, down in 12th in an ST, and in fact very much an understated excellent performance so far. And it's good to see that the people that are coming up from the lower formulae, or formulae, depending on where you live in the UK, clearly have got it.
Well, the system works. You are able to progress forward, and it shows that the drivers who can drive well, they can drive well whatever the car is. And yeah,
they're very different beasts, aren't they?
Oh, they are. I mean, so the jump, for example, from Formula Challenge to Super Cup is scary, and just the amount of extra speed you can carry through, the amount of extra grip, and likewise again, the jump from Super Cup to Super League. You really, even though the cars look fairly similar, that they're not at all in the way that you have to drive them, the way that you have to approach them, and setting them up and driving them ultimately on what is effectively an endurance race here. So yeah, a very different style of racing, different style of car, and it's good to see that drivers have been able to adapt to it as they move their way through the career ladder.
Definitely. Apologies if the cameras have become a bit static. We've lost our cameraman extraordinaire.
Enjoying some of the lovely atmosphere, I think.
Yes, so he's just trying to reconnect, and we'll be back with us shortly. However, there are 2 specific battles that I've got in my beady eyes, which may become 3 very shortly. The third one is Van der Voort versus Canapino for 7 and 8, because Canapino's recatching back Tom Van der Voort. Oscari Cantonen has got Davidus Missilis just 9 tenths behind him, and those two have been at it like rabbits all evening. And now, by far the most interesting one for me, Lewis Redshaw has been caught by David Fidek for 2nd and 3rd, and there's just 9 tenths between the pair of them. And it's been simmering away.
It has.
Hasn't it? And,
it was 5 seconds at the first round of stops, and here we are. So admittedly, Fardock hasn't stopped yet
No.
for his second stop.
I don't think that'll stop him having a go, though.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. So there's nothing at stake
Rottweiler.
now. Everything is very much off the table. Everything has been signed, sealed, and delivered.
And it frees you up doing that, doesn't it? Because
It
suddenly
does.
there's no stakes. You're out here for fun and the enjoyment. And it's been funny because you start to see some people that have got some extra flair to it because they're no longer under the constraints of you must get the car home, you must do this, you must do that. And it's been a fantastic drive to see Fardock come up the field, because you start to feel that if you're at the front of the field, oh well, you're leading, you're in the top car, blah 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 blah. Yes, you may be in the top car, but actually you still have to have the skill to make those passes, to not get chopped off and lose a front wing or a wheel, which is so easily done. And now we're about to see him do battle with the guy that started on pole position. And I know that there's a pit stop affecting this, but it's still juicy nonetheless.
Absolutely, and really, I think the proof in the pudding, as it so were, is going to be going to see. Oh yeah, you've got to love a lovely piece of cake. We'll have to see. Well, we'll have to see, because I think Fardock's getting closer and closer. I think he might have the opportunity to have a piece of cake and eat it if he gets it right. But anyway, no, my point was going to be that that since all the cards and things have been taken off the table, that you have almost the opportunity here. Okay, perhaps not some of the other teams. You know, they've got to focus on beating their respective rivals to score some extra points, and therefore extra constructor monies. Ooh.
Contact between Vandervoort and Canapino. Vandervoort off the track, down in 8th position. That was a two-pronged, so 7th place Canapino now, 8th Vandervoort. But sadly, that was a two-pronged smack. One down the straight under braking, and then Canapino giving a Vandervoort a massive nudge off. I thought the car was going over it. It lost, 2 of its wheels were in the air, and Vandervoort I don't think will be particularly pleased with that one.
No, elbows out overtaking style, which can work
Handbags.
in some cars. Yeah, handbags as well. Chucking those out the cockpit. Not sure how the disciplinary committee will see that, but all the same, it's fun to contemplate. Anyway, yeah, certainly not what you want to be doing in these cars. They're far too fragile for that. And as we saw, even two fairly contacts, but not massive hits all the same. Sent poor Vandervoort there flying. But anyway, speaking of flying, we still have formation flying from the CSGs of Fardock and Redshaw, and they're now catching traffic. So will this prove a factor? We've got, I think that's Kasser in the Torrent. Redshaw's got by him. Fardock's going to have to somehow conjure up a move to get alongside and past him down into turn 1. I think Kasser's seen him, so that's a nice move done there. So not really an effect that time, but it's precisely what you don't want when you're battling a rival, even if it is only your teammate. All of a sudden you've got to start worrying about another car, where they're going, and you have to take your eye off the ball for a second.
The fact that Petr Kasser in the worst car in the field is 15th in the Drivers' Championship is a minor miracle. He's been the real professional in what is, quite frankly, all of the bitch of a dog of a car, and has really dragged that thing round every lap, like remembering that we actually come here for fun to do it. Which I think gets lost along the way, as these two are now coming up to Mr. Schroten himself, and he might want to remove his Schrotens from the racing line at the end of this corner. I think it will wait, and then it'll be a double toe, and that could well be nice for Fardock, because he'll get one off of Redshaw, and if he can make it through nicely, he'll be able to follow him round and try and get toe off one and then off the other.
Yep, by the looks of it, the double toe is well and truly in effect. Will he dip his fingers in the pool? His fingers in the pool? His toes in the pool? No, he won't. So it's all about lagoons and lakes around here at Interlagos, but no swimming that time around. I think quite wisely so. I don't think anything was really on there. So
no fingers in the camel toe. We're all good. Thank
oh
God
dear.
for that. Bit of a squidgy salami. Anyway, so Redshaw stays ahead of Fardock for the time being, and then Euler now 9.2 clear, not massively pulling away, it has to be said. The gap, I thought the gap would start to really extend as these two start to look at each other, as Columbus has disconnected from the game from what was 19th place. So that's a shame there for the target driver. I thought that they would start to in battle and start to drop off slightly, but they've only lost a second during all of this so far. And
Yeah.
they've had a bit of a bad time with traffic, and I think it's more attributed to that than anything else.
Yeah, it seems to me that although Euler, he's built himself a very, very comfortable 8-second or so gap as we crossed the line last time around. He's not really been able to light up the prime tyre, but evidently the prime tyre's had enough because Firelock now pits in from third place. Richard Redshaw's now going to be breathing a bit of a sigh of relief. I think the really interesting question here is what does Firelock go on to? I think it's a little too far for the option tyre to get to the end, and by the looks of it, he's staying with the prime. So 3 prime stints and a single option should see Firelock safely to the end. So he's definitely going to have to come in at least one more time. He's going to come out of the pit lane now. Baldy, interestingly enough, he was running that counter strategy right at the beginning. He's come out, well, he will be just ahead of Firelock as he exits the pit lane here. And is that, yes, that's Baldy, I think, getting a bit of a toe there from one of the VOD balls, really just trying to gain all the speed he can and all the gap he can over Firelock. So those two are going to be scrapping very shortly. And it's a testament to say, actually, Baldy, he ran that alternate strategy, so did Firelock, and they found themselves well inside the top 10 here. So clearly it did work for them. Good strategy call from CSG and Hawkeye.
Certainly indeed, as 19 remaining cars continue on their way, and Mark Fuller then he crashes into Oscari Canton and is letting him through to be laps. It's a little bit tired there. He's 4 laps down but still going, and 3 laps behind. We'll need to be about to be lapped for a third time by his teammates. So a little bit of a gap between the pairing. As up front, it is still an Euler, 9.2 clear of Reginald and Baldy. Roland in 5th. He was looking potentially at a podium position. He's been leapfrogged by those two doing an alternative strategy. Then it's Canapino, who is still clear of Van der Voort, who's not dropping massively off after that dash. But what he must be thinking is where he will be in relation to Ruud Heatspeak, because Heatspeak's right behind him in 8th, actually comes in down slightly. Then you've got Hansen, Missers, Hagen, Leibit, Pushka and Schroten in the points now for Woods. 2 laps down, just clear of Kassa and Covenant, so the battle for the final points playing position. I think we'll run and run. We're at 70% race distance. Most people have just one lap left, one pit stop left, and we'll see how this one will all fade out.
Yeah, indeed. It's interesting at this phase of the race, actually, that everyone has pretty much found themselves a nice chunk of track. They're just going to run into it. There's no one really squabbling together who are squabbling for position. We've got some back markers who are being lapped, but other than that, everyone is now running their own race. And actually, it kind of highlights the other side of racing, which you don't always see, that actually racing in a pack can sometimes be easier than racing alone because you can see your rival, you know what they're doing, and you can either match or try and be clever.
Oh, we've lost Van der Voort, I think.
Oh,
Disconnection.
oh dear. Well, that's a real pity for Van der Voort. Yeah, he's certainly not on the track anymore. So a real shame there for the Nijo driver. He was putting a really stonking good effort in. And sure enough, he's now, there you are, boom, disconnected. So a real shame there for Van der Voort and Nijo running inside the top 10. Unfortunately, that won't be a point score for him. Real shame there on lap 49.
It won't indeed, and what that does is it means that he'll be stuck on 99 points and not make the centenary.
Oh,
That's a bit of a shame.
Oh, that's not. So you can look at these, the finishes, the numbers, and all the rest. And if you're that close, gosh, that must be frustrating.
What will also be awkward for him as well, just whilst I've got it in front of me. Alex Cooper's on 81 points, so he won't get through. But Lucas Euler's on 75, and if Euler wins, then he'll leapfrog him by a point.
Oh.
And dive into 8th in the Drivers' Championship, pushing Van der Voort down to 9th, which I think may be the lowest that he's finished for the last few seasons. So interesting there as Tumala pits from 10th.
Indeed. And actually, that's a very, very good point to make. Euler's only taken part in 3 races, maximum point score from those 3 races. And well, if he can get 4 out of 4, he can, well, get himself well inside the top 10 overall across the whole year. I think that just shows how quick he has been and what an asset to any team he would be if he can get himself a drive next year, which I'm sure if he was looking 1-for-1, he wouldn't have any issues in finding one.
Well, he was only not about this year just because he'd got some studies and jobs and real life, unfortunately.
Real life.
So he wasn't able to defend his title, which he so dominantly won Well, he won with his wang because there was some proper ballsy drives that went on to get it, and it was an amazing 2012 season. Sorry, 2013 season when he was so dominant. The Midnight Motorsport car was one of the best. There was a period where the Torrance took over as the best car for a little while, but even then Euler was proper hanging it all out to dry, and it was a pleasure to see, and it's great to see him back actually. Definitely not a hollow championship for anyone, because everyone that wins a championship has earned it. I don't think you can't really ever take that away from anyone, even if they're in a massively dominant car. You still have to put it on the line and show the character and everything like that you need to be a champion, as Canapino pits from 6th. But if we see, it'll be interesting to see Fiduk, Euler, Redshaw, and a few other people now all back in top cars again. It does salivate my mouth thinking on what 2015 will bring.
Oh, absolutely. And actually, that's something we haven't actually mentioned much at all so far this evening, if we're thinking back on the year so far, is obviously we've got various degrees of development on all of these cars. And actually, to a degree, some of the guys driving the cars, which are not as developed as the front runners, in order to put in the performances that they have done, they've really done a sterling drive, really pulled everything they could out of that car to score some points. I mean, for example, we have Philip Pushka right now for ST. He's running inside the points in a car which, well, the team haven't been able to run in qualifying to save money on tyres and fuel. So it shows that although you might have some who take all the plaudits for winning all the races and winning the championship, that doesn't mean that there aren't great drives and stories up and down the field. So yeah, I think a lot of credit due to a lot of drivers out there and the efforts they've put in this year.
Definitely. I mean, I'll go back to it again. It's been a shame we had Peterkaza. Jim Paris is obviously not about this season with a leg injury, and I think he's just gone off the radar for a bit. But Torrent Motorsport, I think they have the worst car, if not it's like the second worst car, in terms of upgrades on the track. They're 8th in the constructors. They nearly got 100 points between them. Most of those down to Casa, who is in 15th on the drivers' tables. And they're a team that are used to winning. And the fact that they've had to lick their wounds and get through this year and just think, how can we regroup for next year? It's a team that we've not really had to think about in terms of race results for 2014. But I fully expect them to come out and be like, oh yeah, I'm back. For 2015, and you have to think that potentially they run quite well with they did run well, quite closely with Target. Do Target then warrant some raise up the order because they're going to be working with Torrent if that happens? Do we start to see teams start to group together in terms of a band of brothers? It's very, very interesting as to how many different routes and permutations that this upgrade system, which is so unique to GPVWC, could potentially take.
Yeah, absolutely. And a problem shared is always a problem halved. So you never know. You might make teams collaborating together, helping to pitch money in to develop engines or whatever else which they can use. And it's little subtle edges, in particular Super League, that can give you the advantage. We've seen in Formula 1 this year. I mean, Mercedes. They built the best engine, they built the best car, and much like CSG have done here, they've put it to perfect use. And if you can to somehow, take a little bit of R&D, take a little bit of money, and invest that very wisely, and get the best engine, the best chassis out there, you will be able to reap the rewards across the season. Everyone else will be playing catch up. And as you can imagine, especially with a busy and hectic season like we have had this year, catching up while doing the season is not an easy thing to do. You're going to have to start compromising your development. And, well, as we've seen, a few teams have decided they're not going to do that. They're going to focus on next year. So it really does set things up very tastily for next year. But speaking of very tasty things, we've actually got... and as I say that, we got the car pitting in. I was just about to say we have Missilis and Cantonen literally nose to tail along the back straight. But Cantonen there has gone into the pits for Hawkeye to put on another set of tyres. I think he's gone on to the primes there. But we have Missilis and Canapino, who are very, very close together on track. That'll be a race for position, so we'll keep an eye on that. But our top 5 has remained unchanged in the last couple of laps. It's Euler from Redshaw, Baldy from Firelock, and we have Nick Rowland for Midnight rounding out our top 5. So everyone actually up until the top 5, I've just realised, have been lapped as well. So I think that also shows how quick that lot are going. To put a lap on every single other car, it's quite the pace that these top 5 are setting.
I've been curiously watching Morten Wernersson in a Vodbull racing car. His car seems to lock wheels in about 3rd gear, just down in 16th place, and he's just struggling away with some weird acceleration locking up issues. It's specifically around the middle sector. It's not really... I just find it interesting if that's a setup thing or just a driver preference thing. It must be a real ask to keep that one in a straight line, so it's no wonder he was going off everywhere. As Euler exits the pits from his stop in 2nd place in the option tyres.
Let's just see how many more laps we got here. Yeah, he should just about be able to get the end on that. Yeah, that's a good stop in. He's found himself
into
a bit of traffic. Baldy looks like running a similar strategy there, so he'll probably go on to another set of options as well. But no, a good stop there. He's only got 7 seconds to make up to Redshaw, and he's got to pit again. So unless Redshaw can somehow make either of these tyres last, not have to pit, or just somehow pull out a lot of speed and gain a pit stop, I think Euler should, all things being equal, have this one in the bag.
Are into the last few bitty pits then. Of the race distance, 18 drivers still running and racing in this. The retirements: Jarl Tynan crashed lap 3, Kieran Ryan crashed lap 4, Boyd Bryson, as Tommy Hagen exits the pits. Boyd Bryson crashed out lap 18, Lewis Redshaw's in now too, Jordan Weeks crashed lap 41, Columbus on lap 45 disconnected, and as did Vandervoort on lap 50. So relatively high attrition. There's Redshaw. Where is he out in relation to Fireduck? Quite nicely. Yeah, he can stick a three-piece suite in there and be comfy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, just the difference in strategies here are panning their way out. I think most interestingly though, is that Firedock is quite comfortably ahead of Roland at this point. So didn't quite catch when they both relatively pitted into one another, but you never know. Firedock might just have about done it here. He's in 3rd place. If he can stay there, well, that's got to be quite the drive to come through all the way through the field. Finish.
Roland's got to come in again as well, because he's not pitted since lap 48.
Right, well there you are. So there's at least a pit stop in hand, so that's even more breathing room. Oh, tell life, Firedock must pit in again, because he's run on the primes at every stint he's done so far. Well, still, 10-second gap he's been able to build there over Roland, and that is a 3rd place. Again, all things being equal, no sudden dramas with cars dropping off left, right and centre. He will have that podium position. And he's 11 seconds behind Redshaw at the moment, but he's going to lose that time, of course, because he will be pitting in momentarily or in the next couple of laps. So good drive from Firedock. We did wonder, and he's been able to deliver so far. He's in 3rd place. It's Cantonen.
Ooh.
Yeah,
yes.
Well, where was he going?
That was an interesting racing line, and what that has done is completely gift 8 to Missilus, because Missilus has pitted and rejoined ahead of Cantonen, and Cantonen's just kind of gone, well, there you go.
What they always say is that, if you're not leading the race, do something different to get attention as well. Cantonen proved that one there. But,
that's my motto.
Pity's lost a load of time there to Missilus, but that Hawkeye's handy, we know this, and I'm sure he'll be making moves before long, so keep an eye, setting itself up nicely there for a nice scrap between 8th and 9th towards the end of the race.
Bake it and bake it. 18 still remaining in this race, so just whilst this continues to pan itself out, so CSG obviously, what can you say, done amazing stuff. Midnight 2nd, they've really had a pull back. They've had 6 wins over the course of the year, none of them with Roland. They've all been with teammates Ranieri and Cooper and Euler. Then you've got Nijo down in the 3rd with their single win. I forgot they'd won Malaysia. God, that seems like an aeon ago. Red Archer fourth, 10 points ahead of Hawkeye, and that looks like Hawkeye will reverse that today. Oddball in sixth. We've not really mentioned them at all.
No.
Kenny Lybeer, and who joined mid-season, and Morten Bernardsen, who have plodded away. Remember, they had a real strong car early on in the season. I remember them in Bahrain looking like they were going on for top sixes, and then it's kind of flopped away as it's gone on. It's never quite translated across.
Yeah, it's always interesting to see which teams are able to develop the cars. Oh, my dear. I think just following the racing line there, and he's just trying to allow Euler to get through there to be lapped. Yeah, the Vodbull, they had a very handy car at the start of the season, and clearly just not been able to get much more from it throughout the rest of the season. Of course, you can have your test drivers who will earn your research and development points, so you can upgrade your car, but you never know. They might have been saving those away, burying them underground in Vodbull headquarters, ready for next year's car, so they can build a real cracker. We've seen it with the likes of Braun. You can come out of the... Oh, blimey, just watching my beer there going into turn 10. I thought I was a little sideways. But anyway, no, you can... as we've seen, car teams have gone away. They've built an amazing car. They've had an amazing advantage at the start of the season. And they've been able to continue with that, working on that, iterating on that amazing chassis or engine that they have out of the box. And they've been able to take championship. So I'd certainly say keep an eye on Vodbull next year if they are to return at Super League. They're, of course, a team with a lot of history, a lot of prestige, and I'm sure that they will be back with a vengeance next year. And Lybeer's done a great job for them, scoring plenty of points despite all this. So yeah, I think they've got a lot to be proud of. Potentially a lot more could have happened, but you never know quite the situation behind closed doors. I still think they've done a great job on track, though.
Pushka is definitely pushing him for that 11th position, pushed by name and by nature. And Lybeer continues to defend that. He's on the primes, Pushka's on the options. In theory, Pushka has got the faster package as they go along. Lybeer currently sitting 14th in the championship driver-wise. Several retirements, a couple of races missing, and a disqualification from Italy, which I believe has affected some of his points tally. Bernardsen has only missed one race this year, 3 retirements. But he doesn't hold the best finish for them. That was the best race for them was in Bahrain, where Bernardsen came 7th and Lybeer came 4th. That was really where they peaked their form out. As here comes Pushka coming round to lap Tommy Kovanen in the green stripes, and I think Lybeer, that will give him a little bit of a tow and a lifeline down into turn 1. But Pushka, which comes to shove, he'll go through into that 11th if he can have half a look.
Yeah, I mean, he's got the stickier tyre in theory, and here we go. Here comes backmarker Slipstreamathon 2014 along the back straight down towards turn 4, and blimey, Koivunen really having to get on the old anchor there to get himself out of the way. Pushka, who I don't think he quite realised was also trying to come through there as well. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. What's going to be quicker, a ST with option tyres or a Vodbull with prime? Certainly looks like Pushka's feeling racy down into 8 there, and as we've run through 9, no real overtaking opportunity here, but it's all about traction. You never know, you might just get that extra bit of pull as you start to motor your way through the torque curve and up through the gears, and you can all of a sudden be alongside, and you've not really done anything special at all. As they now run down into 12, have to see what Pushka can do. Runs a little wide, but I think he can just about get away with that. Slipstream will give him that time back.
Vodbull need the points. Nordzone are going to outscore them here and then potentially move ahead into 7th in the Constructors. Pushka pits, unfortunately, so that ruins that. Lybeer continues on. That keeps him to fight for another day. But currently with Canapino in 7th, with this good final race of the year for him so far, that's actually going to push Nordzone into 6th in the Constructors ahead of Vodbull if they stay as they are. So we will keep a beady old eye out for that one, because points mean prizes, mean money, means upgrades, means better car. Essentially is the algorithm of GPVWC as Mark Fuller goes 5 laps down in the other ST. And speaking of the back lot, because it's best to keep going, Kerno still sitting there in 9th, even though they have dissolved. Green Stripes 10th with 73 points. They've been a bit no-manly landy, but they can owe pretty much almost all of their points tally down to Mikhail Tumala and his great drives in what is a car that's very difficult to evaluate, because they've had tons of retirements, more retirements almost than any other team. I think Target's really the one that outdoes them. But it's Tumala that's racking up the points in what has effectively become a one-man team.
Yeah, and that's why I wanted to make the point earlier that, you know, you've got obviously the drivers going for race wins and everything else, and that's all well and good. But, you know, there are some amazing drives by drivers in cars which frankly aren't as capable as some of the others around them. And Green Stripes, they've had a handy car, and you know, the drivers, you know, they have been able to extract that bit of potential from it, and almost outdrive the car at times, and they found themselves perhaps not you know, right up at the sharp end of the midfield, but certainly I think they could be pleased with where they are, given that really they have had quite a bad run of finishing and reliability and all the rest. So hopefully we'll see them back next year, and if they can field 2 drivers regularly and develop the car well, I'm sure they'll be able to move forward.
Well, it is the end of their 3rd year as Green Stripes. As their full named team, they come from a heritage line of greater things than what they've achieved so far, but interesting to see where Green Stripes end up next year. As that's going on, doesn't matter at all because it's already happened. Never mind. Then a rundown. Woods 11th, currently on 28 points. And what can you say about Woods? They have had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 retirements this year.
Yep. Points mean prizes, and if you're not finishing races, that means you're not going to be scoring points, you're not going to be getting prizes. And that's why I think, again, you know, you asked me earlier about, okay, well, you've got you know, Nick Rowland, you know, he's been consistent, he's in 3rd place, but, you know, that is where you can really benefit by having such a really consistent, reliable driver. If you can just get, you know, consistent point scoring when it comes to this end of the season, you will find yourselves with a lot of points, and that can give you something to build on. So, yeah, unfortunate for Woods that they've had such dramas. What do you see,
dramas
Simon?
for 8th and 9th. Missilus and Cantonen have spent 4 corners side by side. Missilus gets through on Cantonen just about for the time being. Both on prime tyres, and they're both very much in their own battle, but these two have been stuck together like glue all race long, and regardless of how Cantonen wants to throw it away down at turn 1, he's got Missilus back again, and is clearly feeling the racier of the two at the moment, and that Red Archer desperately wants that 8th place, and Hawkeye desperately need it too, and I think it's going to go the way of the Oscari, but Missilus late on the brakes goes through. You can cross the line and hold the inside just like that. It is one of the very few corners where I feel like I know all the defensive lines from there, because I've had to do it for so many years because I can't drive any other corner. And Cantonen there is going to have a steam through onto 3. Missilus, you can hold it around the outside through 4, and he didn't need to run to the inside for the next double right because he'd already got his car alongside. But it's the reason why I love Interlagos is that for every offensive there's a defensive, and
Yeah.
it is high-speed chess, and they're coming to lap Pushka.
It is. It's and yeah, now we've got a back marker in the mix. It can always line things up, but yeah, it's part of the joy of this fantastic racetrack that you've got such speed as Lucas Oil has just set the fastest lap of the race. You've got such speed. You've got such flow.
Oh, Fidek's in.
And yeah, this was what I was going to mention. So Fidek will have to pit, well, is doing right now on lap 69 of 71. He's going to have to put that option compound on. Now, the interesting thing is, he's only got about a 20 or so second gap, in fact, a little less than that, to Baldy. And of course, the pit-in time, although we're at one of the quicker tracks here, is still around the 20-second mark. So Fidek's out. He's got a very long pit lane exit, which if you put a wheel on the grass, you're in trouble, but you're quite right. He's out well ahead. Baldy's only just rounding Curva de Sol now, and there he is in the back of shot. So that 3rd place is Fidek's if he can keep it on the island for just a few more laps.
Well, Missilus is back ahead of Cantonen in that little squabble for 8th and 9th. They're clearly... Missilus. That's not the racing line, and Cantonen nearly bins it in avoidance as they get round Pushka. They've got another car up ahead. It looked like a green stripe to me, probably. It's all got...
Locking on that rear axle for the Red Archer.
It's all gone a bit America's next top racing driver as they try to go for empathy and smizings on the tyres. As we're on to lap 70 of 71 for Euler, so very short time to go. Let's see what changes down here as Roy Schroten's off the track and is going to retire from the last points paying position if he doesn't get it going again soon. Cantonen down the outside, Missilus again late on the brakes, and he's covered the line. He's done this time and time before, and he needs to just do it for 2 more goes if he wants to keep hold of that 8 from Cantonen. And Roy Schroten has got that car back going again, but that was one hell of an off-track excursion. But he's right ahead of Casa, so the battle for the last points-paying position looks like being an absolute corker too, as Missilus desperately holds off Cantonen.
Yeah, I was quite worried for Cantonen there. I thought he was sideways going into 4 there, but he was able to hold on to it, so fair play. These two really going hammer and tongs. We've only got a few more laps remaining here for the season. More. And one more in fact, as Euler's now crossed the line. And they're giving us entertainment right up until the very end, is what we love to see.
Is indeed, as the green stripe of Covenant gets well out of the way of these Viaducts trying to lap them all, and that could well actually break up or cause a last minute problem for them as he comes round, because depending on where Missilus then lets him through, Viaduct may be able to try and either follow through, which is going to be the only time that you want to do that. It will be interesting to see as they come across the line what Missilus does, as it looks like he's got that one covered and through he goes, and Missilus won't be able to need much of a coaxing on that one. However, out of Vico D'Apato and down to Junkao, we have got Lucas Euler, who is going to make it 4 out of 4, and it's been a surprising, or it's a surprising unsurprise from Lucas Euler. He has returned back to sim racing from nearly a year out. He has shown his class, he has shown his form, and shown us exactly why he's 2013 champion. Lucas Euler wins the Brazilian Grand Prix for GPVWC 2014 in absolute style. Second across the line by 6 seconds. Lewis Redshaw, a well-deserved podium for him. And David Viaduct, all wheels locking, maintains, I won't say it until he crosses the line, but he's going to maintain the 100% podium finishing record for a driver, which I don't think has been done. It was, Euler done it last year, but I thought he retired from a race, so he didn't. So David Viaduct crosses the line to take third, and that is a champion's drive if ever I've seen one, from back of the grid, 24th to third. Beautiful drive from him. Gergo Boldi 4. Nick Rowland will come home 5th, our third man in the championship, the last unlapped runner. Ruud Heeterbeek 6th ahead of Canapino 7, which will move Nord Zone ahead of Vodball for 6th in the Constructors. Missilus is 8th ahead of Hawkeye's Ogascari Cantonen 9. Mikhail Tumala's 10th for Green Stripes. That may move them ahead of Kerno for 9 and 10, not sure. Libya 11, then Red Archers Hagen is in 12th. Philip Pushka's 13th, and that will move ST ahead of Target. 4 points there. Then Morten Vernonson 14. Roy Schroten grabs a point for Woods in 15th, and that keeps them in 11th. Torrent Motorsports there, Petter Kazar, unfortunately no points for him, 16. Covenant 17, 3 laps down. Mark Fuller does take the final place home, 5 laps down in the ST, 18th. Your retirements: Tom Vandervoort, Columbus, Weeks, Bryson, Ryan and Tynan. And what a way to round off the season.
Absolutely, a great race. Sterling drive there from Viaduct. You can't put it any other way. That is not an easy thing to do, but he made it look very easy. Euler showing his class, and yeah, just some great battles up and down the field. You know, it may only be a single race here, but a lot can be decided for the next seasons here, and I think several drivers have done their teams proud, scoring a whole bucket of points, which, well, we won't quite know all the ramifications of where people have finished until penalties and whatnot are applied, but some great drives from people up and down the field, and we've got a few of them joining us now.
We have indeed, and let's kick off with our race winner, which is Lucas Euler, who's made it 4 out of 4, and I bet the rest of the drivers in the field were saying thank God he weren't around for many more races, because in just 4 races you've popped yourself 8th overall in the Drivers' Championship. How did you deal with today, and how do you feel in general?
Well, first of all, again, because last race we didn't have the chance, congratulations to David for the title. I think that's the most important thing over the season. Today was quite difficult. To be honest, the end of the season got to me as well, and motivation wasn't too high as well because Brazil just isn't my track, usually isn't kind to me. I was quite pleased with P2 in qualifying. Of course, I would have liked to have pole, but that wasn't in there today. And I expected it to be a close fight with Lewis or race. We won the same strategy pretty much, just a lap difference sometimes. So when I saw that after his bad start, he was behind Nick, I just tried to build the gap because my gearing wasn't, I couldn't have overtaken him. My top speed was too low. So I needed to get the gap at the start and not get him in the slipstream, which worked out. And from then on, when the gap was around 7 seconds to 8 seconds, I tried to calm down a bit because in the first turn I was really pushing hard. So it was a tough race, but well done everyone. Thanks Lewis for pushing me as well.
Yeah, it was a very good race, Lucas, and well, very uncharacteristic mistake for you in qualifying to put you in second place, but well driven. Just focus, got your head down, and well, storming race, and well done on 4 out of 4. You can't say much better than that. Lewis, hello, welcome, and congratulations on second place. Start didn't quite go to plan, but very good race from there on. Interlagos, is it one of your favourites? Do you enjoy coming here, or are you glad to see the back of it and focus on next year?
No, I definitely enjoy coming in. My first actual win in sim racing came at this track, so always been good. I didn't think I was going to get pole, especially by that margin. So it was obviously all of my laps seemed pretty good. So I need to watch those back. And I don't know why I had a really good practice start on the formation. I even made a comment about it, and then I just did the same clutch position in the race, and the slip indicator went fully red, and got a tap from Nick as well. But I don't think, even if I got in front of Lucas, I don't think it'd matter because we lost out quite a bit in the pit stops, about 2 seconds longer each pit stop, and he had just the pace to match me. I think we would have been a lot closer if I messed up at the start and pit stops were better. I think we could have been really close. But I'm just glad to be having a good race finally, and getting pole was nice and fastest lap as well.
Very good stuff. Oh, sorry, Simon.
I was just going to dive in. With obviously second, you are the bridesmaid. I'm sure you'd look fetching in a Britney dress for that one.
Oh dear.
Sure. There's an image for everyone to.
There's an image for my dad who's watching this broadcast.
Exactly, beautiful. I'll get a 2-frame JPEG for that.
Thanks.
Obviously, it kind of fell away with your last chance in Suzuka, so here you came with gloves is off, and it's a nice party atmosphere for things. How does that then leave you in terms of where your head is then looking for 2015 and what you want to do? Have you got any feelings of what you'd like to do, and will we be seeing you back on the grid?
I think this year in general has been fantastic. 10 wins in total across all the series in GPVWC, which is amazing for me considering I can even drive tin tops at the start of this year, and that's where most of my wins have come from. No, I'm in a really good place. I think you can expect to see me back in the same car. I don't think there's anything going to change with my position in the team. I'm hoping not anyway. But yeah, I'll definitely be back in Super League next year. I really enjoy it. I just want to say thanks to you two and Cam as well for doing the broadcast. I know we've had a couple of teams, but you guys seem to be really good. So thank you for giving your time to make sure we have a broadcast.
You're very welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
I think he's after something, guys.
No,
Cuddles. That's what he's after.
no.
But the cuddle goes to Monsieur Champion, Mr. Fiduk himself. We didn't get to do it in Suzuka, so I think commentators.
Sounds like
done,
you're all
mate.
knocking one out.
I'll tell you what, I was knocking one out watching you go up the field. You was climbing that pole faster than I could climb my own. So talk us through that because, Matt, I'm sure you'll agree, that was a champion's drive.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much. My hands are still shaking. I can't believe I've managed to get it.
Might knock another one out then.
I've already knocked a few out. Man, where am I? Yeah, but embarrassing missing quali. My wife was late back from work, so I was on my own with the kids, so I couldn't do it. She got back with 1 minute 30 left, so I jumped out and didn't get to the line in time. But never mind. It was quite a nice way to end the season. It was really good fun. Yeah, just took my time at the start. A few people went wide. Made a couple of late moves, which I didn't think I would make, but the other guys nicely stayed out the way. And yeah, I had Dave in one ear, Florian in the other, all the way through that race, saying, if you give me these lap times and a few more seconds, we're going to get this place. And I'm not sure exactly what happened to Nick. I think they said he spun. So yeah, that was P4, and they coming up to my last stop, they said, just 2 more seconds, Dave. You can get this podium. And I was like, wow. Florian was just whispering me all race, saying, "Come on, champ, push," and I couldn't be sweaty, no more sweaty than I am now, and knocking them out as well, obviously. So it just makes it even harder. Crazy. I didn't think I'd get top 5, to be honest, but yeah, it's awesome, brilliant. Did I rush that?
No.
I'm too excited.
From that.
No, well, it was indeed a champion's drive, and well, 100% on the podium as well across the whole year. Will we see you back next year to defend your title?
Wait and see.
Oh, cliffhangers! I like it.
I always feel like the EastEnders drum roll needs to come out now. But it's a good point, actually. I mean, how can you round off something like that? You have a 100% podium record for 2014. Yeah. Oh my God! that one sink in, and especially from today, because that looked like it was the impossible dream. So fantastic! Congratulations from us on that. You kind of need to just stick a glacé cherry on top and gobble the lot up, because you can't get better.
No. Well, I could have had all the wins. That would have been better, but I suppose.
So that's where you're going for 2015.
Let's see if we can get a good car. But yeah, I just couldn't believe my luck. I've said in an interview already this week, which I think you guys will hear from next week. I won't ruin it for James, but I think it's out next week. Yeah, the luck I've had this season has just been amazing. Earlier in the season, when Pepe was racing, I didn't really take many risks. Every time I was fighting Pepe and Lewis, Nick and Lee Morris as well in Sepang, just making the moves, I always either pulled out of them and waited for the pits, or just made sure it was a clear-cut move, or don't bother doing it. Yeah, made a few stupid mistakes in Monaco, and didn't have any testing for Canada, so that put me back a bit. But then we had a nice update in Spain, or was it a race after Spain? I think it was Spain, where we pretty much maxed out the car. And after that, the back end was just glued. I was more confident, and it was allowing me to look after the tyres a bit more as well, especially the options, which pretty much won me the championship. You can look back at races like Budapest. I was, 3-4 tenths off Lewis a lap. So from lap 2 or 3, I just backed off the pace, saved the tyres and turned it into a strategy race. And obviously Tom disconnected, which helped me, but yeah, ended up winning that race. And then an incredible second half of the season with results. But today, I honestly just no words really. You think your luck's run out at the start of each race, and each time you make a move, your eyes are pretty much shut. But yeah, podium every race. As James said to me, which I'm going to brag about, the only British Super League champion as well, which is quite shocking considering the number of people we've got. I can't say no more. Obviously, a massive thanks for Dave for the drive. After telling me pre-season that I need to prepare to be lapped each race, and then all of a sudden getting a car before the season started to win races is a massive shock and opportunities I had to take. So yeah, big thanks to Dave. A massive congrats to Lewis. Amazing teammate, bloody quick, very consistent. I suppose like if it wasn't for him missing Austin, it would have been quite a different story, and this race would have been more exciting. But it is what it is.
There was plenty there already. Don't panic. Don't panic.
It was.
I know we're on the edge of our seats regardless. So it's two very, very quick things from me, although one's probably a red herring. Favourite podium?
Wow. You're asking an old man to use his brain. It doesn't work. I'm going to have to go with Abu Dhabi because, I like to test the Midnight and a couple of other cars before the races just to see where our car will be roughly. And I managed to go 3-4 tenths a lap quicker in the Midnight than I did with our car. And I got pole somehow. It was a bloody good lap, and I managed to get it in as the track temp went down near the end as well, or the middle, sorry, before it went back up. And then the race, I was kind of in a trance. So I could see Alex in my mirror for nearly every single lap of Abu Dhabi. But like each braking zone, I was hitting perfect, accelerating perfect, hitting my pit stops perfect. And I didn't even realise across the line, like when I did win, like Florian was like, "Well done," and I was like, "What? Is that it?" It was quite a weird race because I wasn't really in it, if that makes sense. I was so focused that I didn't know what was going on fully. I was just pushing so hard. So, especially to beat Alex in a faster car, which I tried to do in Austin and failed. So to do it in the next race made it even better. So that's probably my favourite win, favourite podium. Yeah. I can't remember the rest. So no more on early season.
That is cool. And I need a number for my takeaway bingo from Champ.
Ooh, I remember I did this last year as well, didn't I? For FC. I don't know. Is number 1 a number? As it's my first championship.
It is indeed, and that's my starter pick. Thank you very much, mate.
It's all right. And to echo Lewis, well done all you guys doing commentary this year, especially you, Simon. The first thing I do again is ask Dave for the streams after each race because you guys just make it something extra special. So well done on that. And also thanks to Florian for helping me as well. Lucas, Alex, Lewis, Nick, Tom, all the guys in the group. We were part of a big group, so it's been an awesome season. So thank you.
Thank you. Well, final words then from Mr. Matthew Cherwin. How's it been for you on the commentary box?
Well, it's been a pleasure, is the first and foremost thing. And as I said, for the Formula Challenge commentary, there are a lot of people who have to do a lot of work to make all this happen. The admins, the team bosses, the livery makers, and in particular, obviously, it's particularly here in the Super League, you have the folks on the pit wall talking to the drivers, all the guys talking through the strategy and all the rest. You don't see that. So massive thank you to all the teams, all the drivers, all the admins, all the people involved, because it's thanks to these guys that we have something to talk about every Thursday or every other Thursday. And it has been a pleasure. We've seen some sterling racing, and I think it's been a very, very nice race to wrap up this championship this season, and roll on next year.
Can't agree with that further. So a big thank you to Simrace TV for hosting the broadcast for us. A big thank you to Cameron Brewster, our Bowser cameraman extraordinaire. You can allow yourself 10 seconds of words on time. Go.
No, thank you guys for doing it with me. It's been good fun, and it's been a brilliant season. And once again, congratulations to Mr. Fidoc.
Thank you very much. Thank you to partner in crime, Matthew Cherwin. It's been a pleasure, mate. It really has been.
Thank you very much.
And thank you so much to Dave Carr-Smith, who has been doing lots of stuff behind the scenes. Will Panisi, obviously, for running the league and keeping everyone well in tip-top shape. And for Chris Williamson for doing a lot of the R&D stuff on the day itself, as well as all the other people who get themselves right fist deep in the action on the forums behind the scenes, making sure that GPVWC runs as smoothly as it does so far. And what do you believe it? There's a wiki with actual up-to-date standings on, so fabulous for that. If you do fancy joining in on the fun, I do implore you to do so. Pop across to GPVWC if you've not seen this on the website itself. Sign yourselves up. There's going to be plenty of stuff on the off-season, plenty of stuff waiting for 2015. And until then, my name's Simon Smith, and I look forward to seeing you all there, and if not beforehand, at the GPVWC meet at the end of November. Oh, drinks are on. David? Bye for now.